Hello and welcome to post-match reaction to the Highlanders versus the Blues. And look, it finished 35-29 to the Highlanders, and it went down to the final hooter. The Blues having the opportunity to go all of the way to score, but unfortunately for them, they knocked it on and didn't score. And also, look, there's my Blues jersey. So unfortunate for me as well. And there's also a Blues training jersey behind my head. One side there you go. So unfortunate for me as well. Look, the Blues started out well, didn't they? Got that charge down, put the Landers under pressure, but early on they got isolated, got it turned over, and they lost Tom Robinson, their captain. Now that brought on Kiriwani, who had a decent enough game, but you got to say that it changed the balance of that back row massively, leaving Dalton Bapulihi fighting a one-man sort of battle at the breakdown, and turnovers were going to harm them. I'm not actually checked the stats, but yeah, there you go. The Blues conceded 13 turnovers to 7 by the Highlanders, so that's that breakdown really a problem area for them. Nocturnal writes there in the live chat, la di la Highlanders. Yes, you can. How to make friends and influence people. You can lose friends quickly here, can't you? No, great to have you here in the live chat. Nocturnal writes to everyone else as well. Look, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter with these shows straight after every Super Rugby Aotearoa game during the season. So, yeah, that's where that's one of the areas the Blues lost it. Also, let's be clear here. Obviously, the Blues had more power, and they had the opportunities. Look, 7 clean breaks, only 4 by the Highlanders. They just couldn't finish those off, could they? Caleb Clark having a better game, and also Rieko Ioane, both of them making those breaks, but not being able to find any support players to pass to, and that was a big problem for them. You're looking at that 98 metres run by Clark, only 36 by Rieko Ioane, interestingly enough, but they did make that big break. Perofeta involved a lot in the game. 10 runs, 5 passes, 69 metres run, 5 defenders beaten, but no clean breaks by him. So you've got to say that, that's it. The Blues had their opportunities, but say playing as individuals, not as a team around some of that kind of stuff, or not getting that the teamwork working there. One of the things we've been talking about, or we've heard being talked about by Wayne Smith, is how the Highlanders are better at keeping the ball alive, and we saw that. Look, a similar number of passes. The Highlanders 132 to 135 by the Blues, but 95 runs to 111 runs. Shows you they were passing a lot more before those runs, whereas the Blues a lot more one out. And using their power runners to try and bash it through there as well. So, you've got to say that, inventive by the Highlanders in this one, but couldn't really put it to bed. The Blues were always in this, but really a couple of silly mistakes by them led them to lose this one. The yellow by Satutu, look, putting your foot up and knocking the ball out of the hand. Now, did he know what he was doing? Did he not? Obviously, the referees thought he did there, and hence why we saw that. And then also that red card. I mean, that red card was was very done by Hodgman, going in, dropping that arm with an upwards motion, hitting in the face, red all day. No complaints at all about the refereeing on that one. Hey, look. The referee, did he get everything right this game? No, he didn't. But it evened itself out in the end. The referee didn't decide this game. The Blues switching off at half time, thinking the Highlanders are going to kick it out, allowing the ball to be kicked over their heads, bounces and goes out. That should never have been allowed to reach touch. And then really not awake at the line out. 3 players marking the blind side with 1 player opposite them. Nobody marking the tail, and through goes... who was it? Punavai for that try. So the Blues only had themselves to blame for this one. The Highlanders kept themselves in it. They didn't allow themselves to be overpowered by this Blues side. The Highlanders had to make a lot of tackles, 136. made, and then 29 missed. So quite a lot of tackles missed by the Highlanders. A lot of talk. Yeah, I mean, Gavin Gould's saying that the Blues very average gave away many silly penalties. They did give away a lot of silly penalties. They give away a lot of penalties, 12-10. So it ended up evening itself out. And obviously, they gave away a lot of penalties early on in the game, which allowed the Highlanders to get into that lead and build that lead. But the Blues definitely had opportunities to win this. To be honest with you, the Highlanders did not put them away in the way that they probably should do. And that's the power of the Blues. The Blues 92% tackling. They didn't miss many tackles. Only missed 10 tackles out of their made 114. So much better defensively there by the Blues, even though the Highlanders were much more inventive in their attack. Some lovely scores by them. We had that Punavai one, which is a lovely line-out move. Nariki in the corner as well. Some real good missed passes to get it out to him. Whereas the Blues, look, they bashed over. Ruru diving through, catching it and putting it down. But all the other tries were bashing over as was being said in our live chat by Stephen Harris, he said this a few times now, is the Blues playing a very South African style, confrontational, big bopper style of game, and we are seeing those people such as Rico Wynage, Caleb Clark's making those breaks, not getting that pass away, and therefore we're not seeing the Blues actually landing those blows and scoring the points. What about Neopolar with friendly with his hands in Groot's face? Look, let's be blunt here. Groot put his hands in Neopolar's face as well. And Stephen said in the live chat, in the group chat during the game, both Lualala and the Groot should have been sent to the bin for that, from my mind, with yellow. Both of them, hands in the face, both of them bending their fingers. Need to be careful when they're doing that. Could easily be red card for contact with the eye area, as we've seen in Gallagher Premiership. We don't see it down here so much, but yeah, they should have been yellow carded. But Stephen, done play by the Blues, but I say that, look, they were in it right to the end, even with all that poor play. They've got a whole bunch of skillful players that's just been wasted at the moment.
Oh, listen, Paul, at the end of the day, I think it was a case of outthought and outcoached. That's what came through to me. Yeah, sure, they were. They were always kind of chasing that game in the second half, and yeah, it's fair to say they only converted a try away from winning it. But boy, what I actually enjoyed about the Highlanders was just the creativeness. They realised that they couldn't get into an arm wrestle with the Blues, so they just did everything at breakneck pace. They moved a lot of the ball away from the contact. Where I think you said during the commentary that the Blues played in a very narrow channel. And ironically, the Blues looked a hell of a lot better when they just went that little bit wider.
Yeah, it becomes easy to defend, but it is a macho defense that you have to step up there. In that one, I mean, someone that Aaron Smith, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, Aaron Smith, Hunt back on form as well. When Hunt plays well, he plays really well. He does play well. He just last week, his manner of putting those two games together. But Hunt had a good game as well. But De Groot, you've somebody's name dropped or given you the word on De Groot, haven't they?
Yeah, well, Dale McLeod, who's the coach of the Southland Stags, gave me the heads up on Ethan De Groot. Maybe not last year before. He said, look out for this young prop, and boy, that was impressive on that loose head side up against Nepo Lalala. And yeah, he's definitely one to watch. It's a bit of an irony. Only about a few days ago, we were sort of talking about, okay, where's these guys coming out of the woodwork, and all of a sudden, boom, here they come. They jump out really quickly, and we're actually starting to see that. And probably a lot of that's been brought about by injury, as well, Paul. So listen, it's just great to see.
Yeah, look, it's all along there that we had a sit with. I've gone blank as to his name, but the Blues prop who played at the Chiefs was, again, it's an opportunity, and and injuries that got in that, and he went from club rugby to All Blacks in one season. So yeah, no, it can be. FedEx just as he says, yeah, Blues' first mindset is catch the ball and try and score alone. Yeah, that is very true. And ill discipline, yeah, it is an every season problem, isn't it? This is not new this year. It's something we've seen for a couple of seasons now. So yeah, the coaching staff should know that by now.
And if you actually watch the Blues, a lot of them will run into contact, not quite looking at that space that's on offer. You saw a perfectly executed try. I think it was the Highlanders' first or second try when they had the attacking scrum. Might have been the second try from the yellow card, and Mitchell Hunt just did enough to drag two guys in and put the man through the hole. I think that's a try that Ioane scored, and that's a great little bit of deception. It's only something minute, but we also saw it again with the try by Punivai later in the half. So that just goes to show me, Paul, that they actually put a lot of emphasis into their attack, but also a lot of analysis on the defensive side as well. And they've obviously put a bit of work into the Blues. Hence that try before halftime. Yeah, we could blame a whole lot of guys, but boy, it was so well done in its simplicity.
Yeah, it was very well done. Frizzell got points over Ioane. Dr. All right says, yeah, look, Frizzell had a good game and has had a good couple of games now. He did start the season trying to do too much himself. He's got that balance much better right now over the last few games. And Frizzell, is looking a lot better. One thing that I think you need to remember, though, is when I'm talking about All Blacks thing, is that there's a difference in playing for international rugby than club rugby or Super Rugby. There's a slightly different skill set about just doing your own thing at that level. Yeah. Whereas this level, it's about also picking up the slack for the players, which is what Frizzell's managed to do at the moment.
Paul, what I am seeing from Frizzell, though, is a degree of consistency, because there have been times in the past where he's actually gone in and out of games, but now he's completely in the games, and you're seeing, like, for example, you'll see Hosking Satutu he goes in and out of games. 1 minute you don't notice him for a while, and then all of a sudden he'll do something absolutely brilliant. So listen, if he can make that step up, boy, good luck to him. But based on form, yeah, he's your starting number 6 for the All Blacks.
Yep, another player who's playing well, even if he is having off-field issues, is Josh Ioane. He had a great game. He had another good game tonight. As Dr. Wright said, good tackle on Clark that was a try-saving tackle. Just seems to be in the right place at the right time, and dovetailing well with Mitch Hunt about who steps up when. They're not standing in each other's places at first receiver. They're taking it in turns well, good play by Josh as well.
Those two have to be on the paddock at the same time, because they just bring so much intelligence in terms of the attack. What I like about both Hunt and also Josh Ioane, boy, they can beat players with footwork, and it's just great to see. Don't get me wrong, we all love a guy who can run into contact and knock people over, but you know what? I think that's easy to stop if you're going to run directly at somebody all the time. You just got to make that tackle, you chop low.
Yep. A good point here by Exodus. You saw players who would do something and then stand still, particularly the Blues. I saw that as well. And that was particularly that line out try at half time. There were 3 players stood on the blind side just looking, doing nothing, and leaving a massive gap. So there was too much of that from the Blues. It's that work rate off the ball.
Yeah, listen, great point from our post effect Exodus. That is a really good point you make. You actually see that with the Blues. You'll see one thing, and then you'll see guys who get in there and clean out was really slow. I just want to bring a couple of points to mind in the first half leading up to one of those Highlanders tries that was scored. I think the first try, you actually saw Scottgregory with 2 beautiful wide passes and then 3 real accurate clean-outs, which gave the ball really, really quick, which means they're willing guys. You got guys that are willing to work off the ball, and with the Blues, that's what I don't see. Guys just don't do enough work at all. We know how big, we know how physical, I think there was a point made earlier in the year, and a few people got their noses out of joint that the Blues are a little bit like a South African team. And boy, there are aspects of the way they play that are.
Yeah, no, absolutely, there is, and they are looking to power through teams, and it kept them in the game here. To be honest with you, look, they could have won it at the end there. I mean, look, it was good to see there was at least the game awareness by their third captain of the game to take a drop goal to speed things up straight after the try. Of it, etc. Liam McDonald was meant to get rid of that lazy play from the Blues, bad habits back. Look. It's a culture thing at the Blues. It has been for a long time. How you get rid of it, I don't know. Without starting up a brand new organisation.
I'll reply to that with Nocturnal. Sometimes they've picked a certain style of player that's big and physical, and sometimes you don't always get work rate with big and physical. Where I'll give you an example. The boy. Who plays Jacobson, who plays for the Chiefs, not a big player, but boy, you'll get work rate. Plus, he's not going to take 2 or 3 guys over the advantage line, but he will work for 80 minutes and he'll clean for 80 minutes. But it's hard getting that right balance, and that's why I think I've said to you, Paul, when you've got both Akira and Hoskins Satutu on the field, I think you take a little bit of balance out of your play. I think they probably lost a little bit, losing Tom Robinson, the skipper, early. I don't think that probably helped their chances this evening. But boy, that's not to take anything away from a very good Highlanders performance.
Not that I'm going to say I told you so, but I did during the game. The loss of Robinson changed the balance in the Blues back row. Need everyone else to step up at ruck time.
Yeah.
Yep. That work rate, exactly what we're talking about there. Losing Robinson meant that the balance in that back row became all wrong, and they just didn't have the work rate in there. They got the big Bosches, but not not that bit. Yeah.
Listen, I got to give a bit of a plug for their 2 locks, though. The 2 Blues locks, the starting locks. That is, I thought both Derry and Tioti Mariner, I thought they were very good. They carried hard into contact, but then again, if I kind of look around at the props again, gee, where was the work rate out of the props pool? The middle row were there doing it. You had obviously Dalton Papali, probably not his best game, but he's entitled to have a bit of an off night. But I've got to say, there's question marks once again over that whole front row in terms of work rate. Once again, you saw all the Highlanders players. Ethan de Groot, boy, he was a bit of a standout tonight. Got his hands on the ball. Siati Tukalahi as well. Those guys were just into it, and also Aiden Johnson, I think, who actually started with Tukalahi, was very good as well. And you always saw these guys handling ball, cleaning out, making quick decisions to get really, really quick ball. I actually thought even Josh Goodhue, when he came on, also offered a bit, got a couple of offloads away. But boy, on the night, what it actually came down to was the smart people in the good conditions and in those positions. And in 9 and 10, and Aaron Smith and Hunt, I think they had the winning of that game.
Yeah, no, that's they definitely and the sort of the dumb ones out of some of the decisions by the Blues as well. But you're right. Yeah, in Derry also, Derry I thought, as been mentioned there, he had a decent game as well. In that one, the Nariki was lively again, not his destructive best that he has been in some of the other games on this one, but there. Scottgregory, you've mentioned him, but yeah, look, he battled through with a knee injury. They've been Brown's been going with this 5-2 bench, or sorry, whatever the bench is anyway, just all season, and it came back to bite him a little bit this one. Let's hope that's not doesn't turn into a long-term injury for Scottgregory. We've seen other players hobbling around with a bad knee have to be out for 6 to 8 weeks with an MCL. So let's hope it's not something like that.
Yeah, it pays not to be a Northland midfielder at the moment. I Paul, obviously, with Jack Goodhue out for a whole year, and Scottgregory. And one thing I'll give Scottgregory, I'll be accused of being a little bit biased, but it's great to see him showing what he can do in a midfield position. Paul, tonight he just did most of the little things well. You got bullied a couple of times, ironically, by both Ioane brothers, but you're going to get that. But in the main, made some really good decisions. So showed he could throw a good cutout pass both ways as well, which is a handy thing for a midfield back to have. And I thought he showed a lot of courage to basically hang in there, obviously in a lot of discomfort, but stayed out there. And you probably had the right train of thought that the Blues really should have been targeting them. So you're right. Really, when you think about it, Paul, that's more on the Blues than Scottgregory, isn't it?
So yeah, you should be running it down Scottgregory's channel, and because he's not going to be able to respond to a step if there's a gap either side of him. That you should be able to step in quite nicely. I was going to defend Offertonga. I fancy a little bit. 12 tackles, non-missed. So fine. He might not have been active on the ball, but I think he was active off the ball in that one. Dalton Papali'i, 11 tackles, non-missed as well. So another good day by him. And Kali Tuoti, I think, is having a stepped up the season as well, hasn't he? 10 tackles, non-missed. I think he's really stepped up in this one.
I think the Blues are pretty well served in that locking area, and there's some areas that they've got real strength, but really, top level games are won with your brains at the end of the day. And what I really enjoyed about tonight's performances was just the creativity that the Highlanders were showing. It was, sometimes it was absolutely breathtaking to watch. And listen, Paul, it'd be remiss of me not to mention the officials as well. As you know, I'm not one of the biggest fans of Brendan Pickerel, but I actually thought the officials did a really good job tonight. And listen, there were a couple of calls where you could have thought they're being a little pedantic here, but the one on the ground with Hoskins, listen, if you're flaying your boots around in that area, the ball's coming out. So, to me that was the right decision. And I also think the one where Aaron Smith, he tried it on, had put the referee's challenge, and why not? He put it out there, but to me, common sense actually came through. If you're driving down and you throw your arms up and you don't know where it's going, well, seriously, it's just an accident at the end of the day.
To me, he wasn't throwing it. It wasn't a swinging arm. He was trying to bind on to players as he's going into the ruck. He sees a player there. He puts his arm out to drag him into the ruck because he wants him in the ruck. To me, that wasn't a swinging arm. That was binding as he goes into a ruck. And it's got unlucky with the height. When we've talked about Frizzell having a good game, but 21 tackles in that game as well. As 14 carries. That is just nuts numbers for Frizzell in that one there. Well done, Highlanders. Much more inventive. Also with the kicking game as well. A very varied kicking game with long, short, grubbers, chips, all sorts of stuff from them, which was good. Which also shows good communication to your other players. They know what's going to come. Because obviously they've got to chase appropriately depending on what the kick is, etc. So very good, which shows good communication on that back line in particular from the Highlanders, as well as thinking about what different options might work or might not work. So so good play from the Highlanders. Lots to like about them, but at the moment not having the power to cope with some of the bigger ones. To be honest with you, so to some of the bigger teams, I think that's what is going to hold them back from being title contenders. Really. Yeah.
Listen, not all's lost for the Blues, as well as I'm sure you're going to put the points table up. To say it was important that they scored. Okay, Aaron, you probably are right. I know the commentators actually said that on television, technically, but on saying I think there's accidental and there's deliberate. In the same way that Dalton Papali'i was actually penalised for changing his lane. When I originally saw it, I thought, no, that's wrong. But when I looked at it again in slow motion, yeah, he saw the player coming. He changed his lane.
No, so I think it was actually the hooker that was done. That quite rightly got some.
Well, I
think he definitely came straight across and took the player. It took Hunt out.
I think the hooker. I think either of them. Either way, it was a penalty. So it was the right decision.
Yep.
At the end of the day. Yes, interesting. Looking at that table, because I'll tell you what, the Blues they're lucky that they've got a game at hand. But boy, what an opportunity for the Chiefs tomorrow night, Paul. I'm a little bit envious of you heading along to Waikato Stadium tomorrow night, because I think the Chiefs are a chance.
Well, look, the Crusaders clearly are not as good as they have been in previous years. Now, injuries are a good reason for that. Look, their depth is being tested in certain places. Braden Ennor and Jack Goodhue would be their starting centre pairing. Both those guys out for the season, for example. So, look, you can understand why, the Crusaders aren't quite as technically clinical as they have been in previous years. But look, they're still at the top there and still odds on for the home final. Looking at the table, as you say, the Chiefs, for a team that, the loss of opening 2 games, everyone's kind of like, oh wow, they're wooden spooners. They're not going to win a game this season. Suddenly have got themselves with 3 wins on the bounce. Are in some. Will be going into this one with the Crusaders with plenty of confidence. Let's be honest, and I say a stuttering, or not stuttering, but just not as clinical Crusaders team means that I think they're in with the shout, but Crusaders still come in as heavy favourites. But yeah, if the Chiefs were to win that, suddenly they'd be up in second place and potentially challenging for a hosting a home final, which would be wow. After what people think about it. So FedEx says, will they play finals or will the tabletopper take it? There will be a final between first and second place. So there is no. Whereas in Super Rugby Aotearoa, Super Rugby AU, there is a preliminary final or knockout final between second and third, and then a final with first. But in Aotearoa, just the top 2 go through to the final.
Well, the Chiefs have got a real opportunity over these next 2 weekends, because they've actually got two home games, Paul. There's a game against the Crusaders tomorrow night, and then they've got that game against the Hurricanes. A little bit unlucky for somebody like Quintu Paia, though, out for the season. So, injuries just starting to bite a little bit. But on saying that, they've got enough cover there with the likes of Nankerville and Anton Leonard-Brown, but they wouldn't want to have too many more injuries.
No, absolutely not. And injuries is becoming a big thing of this season, unfortunately. There is an element of last team standing will actually take it out as well. Well, thank you very much, Stephen, for joining me. Arswin will be hosting, hopefully, the post-match reaction tomorrow night. So even though I'm at the Chiefs versus Crusaders, we will be still here straight after the final whistle, bringing you post-match reaction. Looking forward. So do join us again tomorrow for that. And then we'll be back here at 8 p.m. on Sunday with the Super Rugby Review Show. We'll review all the Super Rugby Aotearoa and Super Rugby AU games as well. So thank you, everybody who's watched, and enjoy the games over this rest of the weekend.